Okay, right, welcome back. So this is the 8th part of this sequence of videos showing how to set up the Apollos model from scratch. So this is the last of the calibration steps we're going to do, and this is how we set up zoning. Okay, so we're going to, as usual, go into our directory, okay, where we've stored the latest version of the Apollos model and all its subfolders. And here, the last one we were working on was suitability. Just going to open that up in RStudio. Yes, we're going to bring that in. Okay, and then as normal, just make that full screen. As normal, we're going to open up the switchboard. Switch in capital letters, switch B.R. Just going to bring that up, and then as we were saying before, remember the one key thing that you need to do here is to make sure that all those maps that have been stored previously come in. We do that by running that model setup script. And that's basically got us back to where we were before. So, so now if we go to calibrate zoning, what that's going to do is just like the other calibration blocks. That's going to go into here and import these two zoning related map layers. So what we're going to do first, before we do that, we're actually just going to import them ourselves and just have a look at them. Okay, so this is our zoning script. So again, although you've got the layers that belong to each block stored there in the ASCII subfolder, each script that runs from that switchboard is in its own folder. So the suitability script runs from there, the accessibility script there, and then obviously the zoning script down there. So that's what I've got open right now. Okay, so what this does, this just simply finds all the files in that ASCII zoning directory. Okay, and I'm actually just going to run that so we can just inspect those maps without running the whole script. Okay. Okay, so that's that done. Let's just have a little look. Okay, and it's brought us in two maps. Okay, and it's created us that little file there, the zone tab. Okay, and that's telling us what raster files we've got in the zoning directory. Yeah. So these are our base maps for zoning. So we're just going to open these up. We're going to plot those out, just so we can just have a quick look at them and see what we're actually saying. Okay, so this one, which has just been given a ZI map prefix, so the script can easily find it in the folder. These are protected areas, right, in our study area of Navarre. Okay, I'm just going to plot that out. Okay, so all these areas are protected. They've all got different codes from 1 to 80, something like that, that are just simply identifiers of the individual protected areas. But for the purposes of this model, obviously protected areas, they have different levels of protection, different levels of strictness. But for the purposes of the model, we're just going to consider them simply all protected areas of equal importance. Okay, so that's an important thing to mention. Okay, and then we've got another map here. Okay, and this is the north. This is the northern part of the Navarre region, and this corresponds to a regional zoning plan, which looks to protect the beautiful natural landscape of the Pyrenees. Okay, so all we've got there is just simply the zoning limitation actually from the regions map. If you remember, we've got a regions map. Actually, we can just plot that out that we set right at the beginning. Okay, and our regions map. Okay, so our regions map's not actually been imported. Okay, so that's a little bit of a problem. We can, of course. Right, okay, yes indeed. So that's actually, this is one of the things that as you go and you save, you don't actually save all the maps. So we could, of course, re-import that map, just so we can just have a look at it. There's no reason why we can't do that. That's in regions, so there we just need to import that. So let's just go to call it regions. And that's Rast. And that is the POT, the Plan de Ordenación Territorial. So this is pot 2, new pot 2. Okay, new pot 2.tif. Okay, so we're just going to plot regions. And that'll show us that. Okay, so basically what you can see there is that these three northernmost regions of Navarre, where the Pyrenees are they've been brought together into that single zoning layer, which we've just imported there, which is North Navarre. Okay, so that's that issue dealt with. Okay, so now we know what those maps are. So now we can just go straight ahead and calibrate the zoning. So again, that actually runs that. It just brings them in again. I mean, it doesn't matter. And then asks if we want to set the zoning layers. Right, okay, so what zoning is here really is these are the institutional restrictions on what land uses can grow and change in particular areas. So in general, in a lot of the models that we're going to want to run, protected areas for many uses are going to be restricted. So, for example, you won't be allowed to have intensive crop cultivation or urban developments or highways, things like that in these protected areas. So, in general, we're simply going to restrict the areas. Now, in planning areas like this is a planning zoning plans like this one here, North Navarre. It may well be that many uses will be permitted or not actually explicitly restricted, but that others may in fact be restricted. This is obviously the case of wind energy. So to try and reduce the number of wind farms, or try and make it difficult to develop wind farms in these areas, then there's going to be a restriction there. Okay, so we're going to go for the first land use is urban land, yes, and this is our first base map, which, as we said, was just ordinary protected areas. Okay, and obviously there we're going to restrict. So this is urban land, cannot expand, is not permitted inside this protected area, right? Okay, so now North Navarre, which is the one we've got up on the screen. So in actual fact, although this is an area of landscape beauty, this is quite a large area, and it's very unlikely that urban development will be absolutely completely restricted in all of these areas. However, it's not necessarily going to be favoured, so we're going to give it a weakly restricted. So 0.1, so that means that this urban development could take place there, but it's not something that's likely to be encouraged. But indeed, it's not absolutely prohibited as it would be in a protected area like a national park, for example. Okay, and there that gives us our protected areas map for urban land, and you can see that 0 is absolutely restricted, those original protected areas. Okay, and weakly restricted 0.1, that's that North Navarre area. And obviously, as you can see, that in that area there is already a lot of urban land, including the capital, Pamplona. So it may be that our weak restriction is not very realistic. Maybe, in fact, there is no restriction. This is something that you've got to decide when you're setting up your zoning maps. And the other thing you notice, of course, is that we've actually got the footprint of the city of Pamplona and the roads and the developments. That's coming through into the map, and the reason for that is, actually that's permitted, is that in our cellular automata land use model, we have to make sure that we permit existing development. Okay, even if future development is prohibited, existing development must be permitted in our model so that it doesn't disappear when we start running our simulations. Okay, so again, an important point to take into account. This is all done automatically for you in the zoning block. Right, so now we're going to set up the land use for solar farms. Yeah. Okay. Again, we're going to strictly restrict solar panels in our protected areas. We're not going to have solar farms in our protected areas. That's a 0. And we're going to weakly restrict them in our area for North Navarre and our Pyrenees landscape area. Okay, and then we're going to get basically a very similar map, though of course, because solar farms are much fewer and they're mostly in the south of Navarre. We're not seeing them there coming through in the solar zoning map. Okay, so now we're going to go to wind. So wind land use obviously is restricted, it's forbidden in protected areas, and we're also going to say it's forbidden in North Navarre. Now you will remember from the suitability that actually this area where we're prohibiting wind turbine development is actually, that's where the highest capacity for wind turbine development is likely to be. So again, we have to ask whether, you know, despite the intentions of planners and zoning authorities, whether any of these things are really realistic, whether it's really true that wind farms are absolutely banned in those areas. But for now, that's what we're going to say in our model. So we're going to strictly restrict them. Okay, and there we go. Now that's a simple, so we can see our last map, wind zoning map, is just a simple binary there. So it's strictly restricted within either North Navarre or any of the protected areas and permitted elsewhere. Don't worry about the fact that the cutout of the map of the region doesn't appear, because in the when the land use model runs, those areas in the outside category, number 7, so outside the region, they're not included in any map computation process. Although obviously here in the zoning map it says, you know, that's available, in reality it won't be included in computation, so there's no need to worry about that. Okay, so that's the end of that video for that last block. So in the next video we're going to show how we run our model. Okay, I'm just going to save image. We're just going to call that project zoning.rdata. Okay, and that's what we're going to start from when we run our now calibrated model. Okay, see you next time.